Let's talk about the number 4 overall pick.
No huddle, Wilson end zone, caught, touchdown, Elijah Moore.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Talking Jets with Tigo. Today I wanted to talk about the number 4 overall pick that the Jets have and kind of what I believe the strategy is for the number 4 pick. Also wanted to talk about the players that I believe are in play at the number 4 pick and players that I believe are not. We're going to go over 5 players that could be on the board and 5 players that are absolutely not going to be in play for the Jets at 4, even if they were there. Now, why am I going to focus specifically on the number 4 overall pick and not 4 and 10, since we have both 4 and 10? Well, in my eyes, I don't believe the Jets will be willing to part ways with the number 4 overall pick. I think that the number 4 overall pick is not for sale as of right now. I think if a quarterback hasn't gone 1, 2, or 3, which I think is very unlikely because I think the first quarterback off the board is the Detroit at 2, personally. But if a quarterback's not off the board, then maybe we sell the 4th pick. But I think that the Jets are sold on picking at 4. So I want to talk about the players that are going to be available at 4 that might not be available at 10 that we would want to take at 4. The guys that I think are on the Jets' radar, and then players that I think a lot of people think are on the Jets' radar that I don't actually think that the Jets are going to target. So we're going to go 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4. So let's do that. So let's start with a player that I don't think is on the Jets' board, and I think a lot of people think that we might be in on him. I know a lot of Jets fans don't want him at 4. They might want him at 10. I don't want him at all, and that is safety Kyle Hamilton out of Notre Dame. Now, a lot of people are like, why wouldn't you want safety? Why wouldn't you want Kyle Hamilton? The guy's a unicorn. The guy's incredible. He can play everywhere on the field, and I don't believe any of those things about Kyle Hamilton. I think that people are overhyping Kyle Hamilton. I'm going to make an entire video about Kyle Hamilton just to talk about this. I am not as high on Kyle Hamilton as everybody else. I think his coverage skills are lacking. I think that you can't really trust him in like a single high safety kind of position. I think everybody points to one game where he had like 2 really, really good plays, and that's against the Florida State game in 2021, like the year that just happened. And so my thing is there are a lot of gaps in his game and in his in what he can provide. And I don't think that he is worth the number 4 overall pick at safety. Like I said, I'm going to do an entire video on Kyle Hamilton talking about his games and all of that stuff. That should probably be tomorrow's video, or if not tomorrow's video, it'll come out sometime this week. And so that's it. Number 1, Kyle Hamilton. I don't think the Jets are in on him. 1, because I don't believe that Joe Douglas or Robert Saleh value the safety position that highly to put Kyle Hamilton, make Kyle Hamilton the number 4 overall pick. I think there is a much, much, much more likely scenario that we either go out and sign one of the remaining free agent safeties. And like my real thing is like Tyrann Mathieu is still out there and still available. I would much rather go and pursue him. Like there's other guys that I would look at and I'd go, you know what? Let's go get these guys. Tart, who played with Saleh in San Francisco. Yeah, he's older, but he could be brought in on a cheap deal. Like I said, there are a lot of players out there that I think we can address the safety position, and I think that the Jets internally really believe in their safety room, and they want to see what that would look like with the addition of Jordan Whitehead. Now let's start with a player that I think is on the Jets board. I think he'd be insane not to be on the Jets board. Now, I don't want to say that he's number one on the Jets board, but I do want to say that this is one of the players that I think is on the board. These rankings, this 1, 2, 3, 4, is just a random order that I put down and the guys that I saw on the big board that I was looking at the time. This is not a matter of, I think this is the Jets' number one target or whatever. And so let's just get right into it. I think one of the guys that the Jets are definitely in on at number 4 is Aiden Hutchinson, edge out of Michigan. I think he's on everybody's big board. Now, I will say this. Aiden Hutchinson is not my number one player on my big board in this draft, and he's not even my number one edge rusher in this class. Now, statistically, he had an insane last year. In 14 games played, he had 14 sacks, 9 hits, and 51 pressures, which is just insane production. Throughout all of 2021, he had a 94.5 overall grade from PFF and a 93.4 pass rush grade, which is just incredible. And then you partner that with a 90.8 run defense grade. Aiden Hutchinson really made himself a lot of money this year with the performance that he put up. Now, here is my concern with Aiden Hutchinson, and we talked about this in our edge video, and that is his arm length. You know, he has a lot of skills, and he's a speed to power guy. So he does need to add extra moves coming to the NFL, which I think that he does, and he has the motivation and the drive to do it. The real thing with him and why I think that he's a fit for the Jets is the character. And you're going to see a lot of that in this draft, in this list. And by a lot of it, I mean there's one other player who's not on the Jets list who has character concerns. And I don't think we see that with Aiden Hutchinson. I think you can see that he takes every rep at 100%. He's trying to win every rep all of the time. If a tackle's hands get in on him, that's where I get concerned with his arms not being able to break that away. But he works at that, and he really tries to win back reps and not get into that thing. He comes into the game with a pass rushing plan. So again, Aiden Hutchinson for me is an excellent candidate, and if he's there available at 4, which I don't think is out of the realm of possibility, I think the Jets should 100% be in on taking Aiden Hutchinson at 4, and I think that they are. Now, moving on to a player, and I'm going to tag these two players together, and I'm going to say Ika Mekwonu and Evan Neal, I don't think, and Charles Cross, let's put him in there. I'd say offensive tackles. I don't think the Jets are going to be in on offensive tackles at 4. I think we drafted 2 offensive linemen this year. I would not be surprised if we took a center guard in the 2nd or the 3rd round and a tackle in the 4th or the 5th round. I'm not saying that we don't need help at these positions. I'm saying we absolutely do. We need depth at them, and we need insurance at those positions. But if you look at the league and you look at the majority of tackles taken and the majority of tackles playing high-level reps and high-level snaps, they weren't taken in the 1st round. Most of those guys are 3rd, 4th, and 5th round picks. If Joe Douglas believes that he is, and we believe that Joe Douglas is the talent evaluator that he is, he should definitely be able to go into the later rounds, in the 2nd, the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th round, and find a tackle that can sit behind Mekhi Becton and George Fant. And if the case and if the need arises, he can come in and win that spot. We want a guy that's not here to compete with Mekhi Becton and George Fant. We want a guy who's really here to compete with Chuma Edoga and McDermott. We don't want, if McDermott and Edoga are taking snaps, our team's in a bad situation, right? Because that means one of our tackles got hurt. Now, I would feel much more comfortable if we took one of the offensive tackles in the later rounds. Your Abraham Lucases, your Jamari Sailors, Kellen Dykes, Tyler Smith, if he falls out of the 1st round into the 2nd. Very interesting guy. Daniel Falele, Nicholas Petit-Frere. Maybe not Daniel Falele because I don't think he fits our scheme, but Nicholas Petit-Frere, Max Mitchell, Zach Tom, Sean Ryan. All of these guys to me are much more interesting prospects to take because I believe in our offensive line coach. I believe in what we can do on the offensive line, and drafting a guy later on, Chris Paul, taking a guy later in the draft is going to provide a lot more value than taking an Ikem Ekwonu, an Evan Neal, a Charles Cross at the top of the draft. Now, unlike Kyle Hamilton, which I'm not a fan of him, I am absolutely a big fan of Ikem Ekwonu, Evan Neal, and Charles Cross. I think these guys are studs, especially Ekwonu. Icky is going to be one of the best players in this draft. I'm banging the table that Icky is an NFL player. I think he should be the number 1 overall pick. He is the number 1 player on my big board. I think Jacksonville would be insane not to take him. I don't care that you franchise tagged Cam Robinson. Icky is an upgrade on Cam Robinson 9 out of 5 times. I would take him 11 ways to Sundays and twice on Saturdays. Like, he is so good. Evan Neal provides you so much versatility, and you know that he played against good edge rushers and good defenses by staying at the Alabama in an SEC school all throughout his college career. And he provides you that versatility because he played on the right side, he played on the left side, he played everywhere. So I believe in Icky and Evan Neal and Charles Cross. I think Charles Cross's pass sets are out of this world good, but I don't think the Jets are in on them at 4. Just because, like I said, I don't think that we're going to be looking at taking a tackle that high. So now let's go and let's do 2 back-to-back players for the Jets that I think the Jets are interested in taking at 4. And those are, you're going to see a trend here, Travon Walker and Jermaine Johnson. Now let's start with Travon Walker. Travon Walker is an athletic freak. He is 6'5", 270. I think he's available at 4, and I think this is one of those potential hires. Now, potential gets you fired, as we know, but with our coaching and with what we provide and what we have there, I think that we can absolutely help him develop his pass rush moves. The athleticism that he has and the explosiveness that he has and the strength that he has are uncoachable stats and traits. Those are things that you don't coach up that speed. You don't coach up that aggressiveness and that, like, you just can't. You can't teach 6'5", 270. And so his raw athleticism is the thing that I think absolutely intrigues me with him, especially when you add him into a rotational room with Carl Lawson, who's coming back off of injury, and you can really coach up and train this kid. He's been asked to do so much in his career at Georgia, play inside, play outside, line up in the A gap, the B gap, over the tackle, outside of the tackle, off of the ball. Like, he's taken snaps all 3 years at Georgia at all in the A gap, in the B gap, over the tackle, outside of the. He's done all of it. And I feel like he was asked to do a lot more run defensive snaps over true go after the passer. He was asked to set the edge a lot and do a lot of those things, but he does need work. But I do think that he is available at 4 for the Jets. I think the Jets are going to fall in love with his athleticism. I've fallen in love with his athleticism, and I'd be surprised if Travon Walker is there if he isn't the pick. But he is only not the pick if this player is not on the board, and that is Jermaine Johnson, edge out of Florida State. Now, I do know the concerns with his age, being a little bit older and all of that stuff, but I heard something, and after watching Jermaine Johnson take all of his snaps and do all of the things that he did, I think Jermaine Johnson might end up as the best pass rusher in this class. That is assuming that Travon Walker doesn't pan out, kind of a thing. But I think Jermaine Johnson coming in, his path to the NFL, his opportunity and all of that to come up and what he did at Florida State and the tackles that he faced and winning his reps and doing all of that stuff. We got to see him against legitimate NFL caliber tackles and offensive linemen out of Notre Dame and Wake Forest. Notre Dame always has NFL caliber tackles. Wake Forest has Zach Tom, which I think is going to project really well into the NFL. He's a prospect that I think the Jets should be going after. He faced Ike Mekwonu at North Carolina State this year. He faced Boston College's offensive line, which has 2 players that are probably going to be taken in this year's draft, in Zion Johnson and Alec Lindstrom. Alec Lindstrom is a great guy coming in late that I would be interested in taking. And so you see that he was asked to do a lot of run stopping passes and setting the edge at college. And when I think that if you ask him to truly just be a pass rusher, he can do it all. I think we saw a lot of him winning one-on-one sets at the Senior Bowl. And I think, honestly, right now, if the draft goes and Jermaine Johnson is there at 4, he's the pick at 4. I think the Jets are that high on him. I'm that high on him. I think he comes in and he brings in a lot of he's when he interviews, he sounds smart, he knows football, and you can tell that he watches the tape and comes prepared with a game plan and all of that stuff. Jermaine Johnson right now for me is my number 1 edge rusher in this class. Like I said, it rotates in my edge rusher video with Jermaine Johnson and Trayvon Walker. They're kind of like a 1A, 1B. I think Trayvon Walker being younger and a freak of an athlete is incredible, but I think that what Jermaine Johnson already has is great and would fit in that New York Jets locker room. I love Jermaine Johnson. He is my next tackle here, edge here. Now, let's talk a player that I don't think the Jets are in on, and he is a possibility of being the number 1 pick or falling out of the top 10, and that's Kayvon Thibodeaux. I think we've talked about this more than enough. Kayvon Thibodeaux has all of the let's say raw tools to be able to be a elite pass rusher at the next level. I think if it's not in year 1, year 2 is where he's going to explode onto the NFL scene. But my thing is we are not in a position where we can start taking and looking at players that might be distractions in the locker room. And I think that's what Kayvon ultimately will be to whatever team that he goes to. If he keeps talking about like, hey, this is my brand and all of these things, I think that ultimately that becomes a distraction in the locker room. Kayvon Thibodeaux is awesome. 6'3", 250. He's got incredible bend and, he's got incredible stats. He had a 91.5 pass rush grade in 2021 with an 84 overall grade. He provides great value at that pick. He was the consensus number 1 overall pick all year. All year he was the consensus number 1 overall pick. But like I mentioned in my edge rusher video, I have a concern about the fact of his, like I said, of his locker room stuff and his off the field stuff and the worrying about his brand and the way that he's answering questions and he doesn't seem to be interviewing well. And my thing is as much as he's going to be a good player, I would rather avoid the headache with a team that's rebuilding and all of that stuff. I'd rather have a guy who's willing to earn his reps and go do his job and get everything there. And so Kayvon Thibodeaux, I think Kayvon Thibodeaux is out of the conversation at 4 personally. And last but not least, a player that we've seen mocked to the Jets that I think absolutely is in play for the Jets at 4, depending on how the board falls and how comfortable the Jets feel of maybe one of these guys falling to 10, is Ahmad Gardner. Now, Ahmad Gardner is like the number 2 or number 3 player on my big board. I haven't really made a big board, but I really like Ahmad Gardner. 6'3", 190. He can play whatever you want him to play, whether it's man press, like zone press, off the ball zone. Like, he provides you so much versatility in this class. He has never let up a touchdown in his entire college career at Cincinnati. He has 3 interceptions in all 3 years he played at Cincinnati. He is available as far as I'm concerned. I don't think he's ever missed a game in his college career. He doesn't get targeted very often. Teams are terrified of him, so they just don't throw the ball at him. And the last time we saw something like that was with Darrelle Revis. Now, let me preface this by saying I don't think Ahmad Gardner is Darrelle Revis. But damn, he would look good in Gotham Green. And I don't think the Jets are in on a secondary player per se, but if the Jets looked at it and if we addressed the wide receiver in free agency and we didn't have a need for a wide receiver, I would not be surprised if Ahmad Gardner is the pick here at 4. Now, I know what a lot of people are saying is like, why would you pick Ahmad Gardner at 4? He's going to be available at 10. He's absolutely not going to be available at 10. I can tell you that right now. There is no way that Ahmad Gardner makes it to 10. Teams that could take Ahmad Gardner start at 6 and end at 9. The Giants are, if the Panthers decide all of the offensive linemen are off the board and they don't want to go offensive linemen, there's a good to fair chance they could go Ahmad Gardner. You can never have too many corners. Like, their lineup isn't like, yes, you just took Horn, but like JC Horn isn't going to like stop you from taking like a corner. They don't have other outside corners that I feel comfortable in on that roster right now. The New York Giants are definitely going to take Ahmad Gardner at 7 if he's there. They're trying to trade away Bradbury. They're going to have a cap casualty. And their defensive coordinator, who's Martindale? I forget. But their defensive coordinator, Wink Martindale, I think is his name, right? Yeah, whatever. He builds his teams back to front. He puts so much responsibility on his safeties and his corners. He achieves sacks. He does coverage sacks. Where we do pass rush. We do pass rush sacks with cover. We do pass rush interceptions, right? As the Jets, we build front to back. We believe in a pass rush. We got to get to the passer with 4 guys to cause mistakes for our coverage guys to get interceptions, right? It's pass rush interceptions where they do coverage sacks. So they build back to front. There's a good to fair chance that Atlanta doesn't take a wide receiver. I don't see why they would take a wide receiver. I know that they need help at wide receiver, but like, you also need help. You need to fix that defense. And I think that you could get a wide receiver in the second. And taking a wide receiver this high up when you have so many other needs on the team, like, I could see them taking a corner. I can see them taking defensive line. I can see them taking a quarterback. I can also see them taking a wide receiver here. There's a lot of needs for the Falcons on this team, and definitely don't think that Ahmad Gardner's not an option there. Seattle just lost DJ Reed. There's a good to fair chance that they might want to screw the Jets over and take Ahmad Gardner here, or trade with someone who needs a corner. What if the Baltimore Ravens trade up to 9 to go get a corner, to go get Ahmad Gardner? What if the Chargers, who might need a corner, go from 17 to 9? Or, you know, the Patriots go from 21 to 9. That'll never happen, but like, they need a corner. The Bengals maybe need a corner. They can trade up. Not really. They're not going to trade up. They're probably going to take an offensive lineman at 31. The Kansas City Chiefs need a corner. So for everyone thinking that Ahmad Gardner is going to be available there at 10, you're delusional. You're out of your mind if you think that guy's falling all the way to 10. He's not. The farthest he makes it is 7, in my opinion. If he's not taken at 4, the Giants are taking an offensive lineman because they want to be able to have their pick so that Carolina can't take their guy. And then 7 is where he goes. That's his floor. That's the lowest he goes, in my opinion, is 7. So if you want Ahmad Gardner and he's on your list, you got to take him at 4. There's a good to fair chance he's taken at 2 or 1 or 3 because he's that good. So Ahmad Gardner, definitely on the Jets board. I think he's on everybody's board. He should be. And last but not least, I want to talk about a full position group that isn't available at 4 and probably is also available at 4. And that's the wide receiver group. I think that the Jets, in a perfect world, want to trade back from 10. I think that they've confirmed that their guy that they want to take is Treylon Burks, and I like Treylon Burks. And I think that they don't want to take a receiver at 4 or 10. I think they would, in an ideal world, trade out of 10 and go into that 14 to 20 range. And that in a perfect world, you would see them picking a wide receiver with maybe one of the Eagles picks. If the Eagles wanted to come up to get a guy, or the Chargers pick, or Baltimore's pick, or Pittsburgh's pick, that's where they want to start maybe looking at a wide receiver. I don't think they want to take a wide receiver at 10. But I also don't think that if it came down to it, and let's say like they believe that let's say the top 3 picks goes offensive tackle, quarterback, offensive tackle, and all 5 of the edge rushers are there on the board. Do you think that 5 edge rushers are going to be gone between 5 and 10? No. And yes, you could take your pick of edge rusher here, but you could also like look at it and say, there's a lot of teams that might be with, like the Giants have been rumored that they don't want to pick twice in this year's draft, that they would rather pick twice in next year's draft, that they want that capital. And I think that's more in lines of we want Daniel Jones insurance so that if Daniel Jones isn't the guy, we can trade up and get a quarterback next year. So I think that's what that is. And then 8, 9 are both positions that wide receivers can be taking, assuming that DK is out of Seattle and the Jets don't get him. So I look at 4 and I go, I know a lot of Jets fans aren't a fan of taking a wide receiver at 4, but if like you look at Garrett Wilson and Garrett Wilson is your guy, and you look at it and you go, this guy is absolutely the guy, or Drake London or whoever it is, and he's the number 1 player on your board, man, don't risk it. Take the kid. Just take the kid. If you think he's going to help Zach, take the kid. I don't care. I don't care about reaching in this draft. If I believe in our talent evaluators, and I believe in Joe Douglas enough to say, you know what, go get your guy. If he's there available at that pick, I don't care if you consider it a reach. If he's the next player on your board, you take him. And that's how it should go, right? So those are my kind of players that I look at and I go are definitely on the board for the Jets at 4. Let me know what you guys think about my list of players. Hey, don't forget, we are doing a giveaway. The draft is 20 days away. Very exciting. Let me know in the comment section what players you guys think the Jets are in on at 4. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button. My name is Tigo. This has been Talking Jets with Tigo. And last but not least, go Jets.